What's up, guys? Welcome back to Movies Manga, where we read the absolute peak manga of all time. Today we're coming back with some more Dandadan because it's the only manga I am reading right now until I get recommended some. Other than that, we're reading through the first top 10. So if you're new here and you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, like the video. And yeah, it's Dandadan Volume 5. We got Evil Eye here, we got an Alaskan Bullworm, and we got new characters, man. And who doesn't love a new character here and there? So let's get into it. To start off Volume 5 of Dandadan, we got the gang coming back to JIJI's house. So we have JIJI, Okura, and Momo. And Momo is looking around. She's like, is there any spirits in here? Hello? And she later assumes that they must be hiding and they'll probably come out at nighttime. It's pretty reasonable to think. So they said they should just get some rest, and she begins relaxing, and then later on says that she will be going to the hot springs because she's gonna take it easy. It's like a little vacation. There's no spirits to fight right now. She's going to go and relax in the hot spring, and since there's tons of them around, why not? But she does that to leave JIJI and Okura some time to bond and get to know each other. And JIJI comes out with a drink for Momo. He notices that she's gone, and he's like, Okura, you want to play soccer, man? So they start to play soccer, and then he's trying to teach Okura how to play and how to kick and everything, how to pass the ball. And of course, Okura's apologizing, and he's saying to himself that thank God Momo isn't here and that he's lame and he has to get better so he can impress her. But then JIJI later on, and he confronts Okura about Momo. He said, hey, do you have a thing for Momo? And I like this because it's a conflict for Okura and for Momo's love, and I like that little aspect of it. So Okura then tells JIJI that Momo is his first friend and that she's very important to him. JIJI admits he loves Momo for her face and her personality. And then Okura hears that, he's like, man, I gotta be honest too. So he's saying he does as well, and that he also respects her. So then they get into this little contest with JIJI and Okura, and it's like, hey, that's not fair, and that JIJI loves her eyes, and he's saying he wins, and then Okura, he stacks on he plus that he loves her mouth and that he wins, and he said that doesn't count, and that JIJI ultimately wins because he's Momo's lifelong friend. And then Okura starts to remember kissing Momo, and he just says he wins without really sharing how. And I thought that was pretty funny. I like the humor and Dandadan. Read 5 volumes so far. I love the humor, man. We have a scene with Momo in the hot spring. She's thinking about JIJI and Okura and how they're getting along, and JIJI. We get back to JIJI and Okura, and JIJI saying that he is real stubborn, and they end up with a handshake, or so we thought. And then JIJI, he chokes Okura, and like I said about that humor, it's always here. And then Okura sees something. It's like an addition to his house that's next to the entrance, but there's no room there. So they go inside, check it out, and JIJI knocks on the wall, and Okura says it's very hollow, and then they bust a hole in it to see what the hell's going on. And then at the end of chapter 33, we get a panel of a bunch of what it looks like seals in a dark room. We come back to JIJI and Okura, and you have the hole in the wall, and they're inspecting it and saying what the hell's in there. And then they get a ring at the door, and JIJI thinks it's Momo, but the whole time it's these ladies. We then cut back to Momo in the hot spring, and she's ready to get out, but then she sees footsteps coming towards her, and she doesn't want to get out because she's naked and there's people coming up. And then you have these guys, obviously they're nude, they're going into the hot spring, and they say, Momo's a pretty little thing in here, in the water by herself, and they point out the sign that it's a male and female mixed use hot spring, and Momo says that the sign is, it's barely readable. They then get into the water, relaxing, and start to talk to Momo a bit. Mention does she know much about gators, and that they are things or somebody who comes after women who are in the nude. And then they start sneaking up on her and attack Momo. Momo, of course, attacks back, and then she uses the wall to slam on top of these group of men. But as she's trying to crawl away, we get this little scene. The man grabs her leg and tries to pull her back, but then the wall that was in front of her falls, and she was luckily in the doorway, man. Real fucking lucky. But then she gets a great view of the volcano. There's a hot spring, not hot springs, but geysers going off. You have a rainbow. It's very nice artwork. I'll tell you, this reading Dandadan it's very nice to look at and to laugh at. Momo says sometimes but not hot spring isn't too bad. But then we see that Turbo Granny was inside the hot spring with her, and that she snuck into their bag, Momo and Okaran's bag, to come and get in the hot springs. When Momo's like, you could have just asked. It's that simple, Turbo Granny. And then it seems like we have police come up, and we learn that the men are part of the Keto family, and they get blamed for the wall damages, and then they get chased down by the police. But Turbo Granny does comment on JIJI's house, asking Momo did she see about stuff in that house, and that the house is soaked in human blood. And Turbo Granny says that it's a bad place. Chapter 35 of Dandadan, Where is the Shukinoko Monster? And that is the title of this chapter. And we get back to Okaran and JIJI, and they are accommodating to the women that's part of the Keto family. But yeah, get back to Okaran and JIJI in the house with the women that are part of the Keto family, and we learn that this house is their land, and they're being courteous of JIJI, parents being in the hospital, that they're letting him stay in the house absolutely for free, and they offer them some sweets, which was very, very nice. Okaran then questions who the hell are these people, and JIJI finally tells Okaran that this house is a rental, and that the Keto family is the landlord. But then you have the women. I'm gonna say the Keto family from that one because it's easier. The Keto family then confronts JIJI about him disappearing without their permission, which I find kind of weird because you're just my landlord, right? But JIJI then pins the blame on Okaran, saying that Okaran wanted to come and hang out, and JIJI went to go get him. We know, very simple excuse, but the Keto family then asked JIJI that he's not gonna bring any more spirit mediums with him, and then they are trying to get this really kind of creepy panel of them talking about the spirit mediums, and that there's no ghost, and that they're making a bad name for him. But then JIJI points to Okaran and says he doesn't look like no spirit medium, and that spirit mediums are just scam artists. But then you have one woman in the group brings out a gun, saying that she just got her hunting license. But then we get somebody at the door again, walking. It happens to be a police officer, and they're coming in with the men of the Keto family. Then you have everybody in the same room and everything, and that the women are like, what the hell did the men do this time? Considering what happened at the shrine and everything. And then the guy knows JIJI, obviously, and then he questions JIJI and says, hey, where'd you go off to? And JIJI say, you must have went to go see a friend. And the guy's like, hey, don't lie to me now, and that they hate liars. The guy did ask who's the boy, and then JIJI, of course, tells him that it was his buddy. But to make sure that Okaran knew JIJI, he asked about JIJI's favorite soccer team, considering that they're good buddies. And then Okaran says, I'm not going to try to pronounce that team, but it turns out to be right, and that Okaran knew because of the poster JIJI had up. But then the woman said that there was a girl here too, and then JIJI tried to act like nobody was there, and that the guy's like, hey, it's true, isn't it? And then he gets caught lying, which is bad. We then switch back to Momo at this shrine with a brand new character who's doing like a headstand, it seems. She asks if this was the Shukinoko shrine, and he says yes, and that the guy says he wants to become a boottuber. I guess that's their version of YouTube. But then he goes to show Momo the shrine, and then she's excited to look at it and tell Okuran about it later. And then we get a panel of the Shukinoko monster, or it looks like part of his skin. And then we learn about the story of the Shukinoko monster, and then that they offer human sacrifices to keep the monster from raging. And that the guy at the shrine was there to prevent human sacrifices. But he just wants to do his stand on BootTube. If he was going to be real. So then you have Momo going back to the house, and then you have the Keto family shown with JIJI and Okuran beating the hell up, and that all the offerings are there, and that they're gonna begin a festival, which is interesting. It's interesting. Chapter 36, the Keto family's old lady. We then get back to Momo walking in to Okuran and JIJI being beaten to a pulp. And then she just, starts throwing hands, She kicks that one guy in the neck, and she flips this one guy. Oh, nah, she ain't flip him. She grabbed his fucking head and fucking kneed his shit, right? Like she was not fucking playing. Holy shit. Like, reading this again, it's like, god damn. She hurt herself, a little recoil damage, but it's alright. She then throws the couch on their head, gets his ass, kicks this guy in the fucking nuts, but then you have a guy that grabs her and, kind of like that suplex. You just bow, you know what I'm saying? And then starts to touch her in her thigh. But then Turbo Granny rages out and says, hey, get the fuck off me, which scares the guy, makes him slip on a bottle and bang his head, getting him off of Momo. And Granny's like, who the fuck are you squishing? I'm over here trying to take a nap, and you over here, I can't breathe, I need my air. Momo then asks Turbo Granny if she can lend a hand, and Momo's like, no, she's not here to help you. So the guys tell her to calm down, and she's like, stay away from me, and she tells them to get the fuck out the house, not knowing that this is their house. You can't tell them to get out, they have the key. And then the old lady kicks the fuck out of her, throws down the couch, and she's like, ooh, she dodges, what's that, TV? She dodges the fucking TV by ducking on it. She's real nimble, real agile. And then Momo's like, who the fuck is this lady? She kicks Momo up and then does her, looks like a signature punch into the wall with all the seals. And apparently that's the mother. God damn. But then you do have the comedy there talking about who is this old lady? Just some tough old bird. No old lady's that tough. And then Turbo's like, hey, your grandma. It's one in your house. What the fuck? So then the old lady then assumes that Momo's there to destroy the village, and that the Keto family has protected this village for generations. And she's like, who do you think made the safe hot springs? And they've been making offerings to the serpent for the last 200 years. That's why the volcano hasn't erupted. Now, if they didn't take care of it, this land would be under the village would be under magma. Lava, since it's outside, there used to be an altar, and it was an altar for human sacrifice, and form changed many times. Just get a little bit of lore. And then Momo puts it together that JIJI's parents, well, she jumps to the conclusion that JIJI's parents have gotten eaten or poisoned by this family, and that something happened with his parents. But then the old lady brings up how lucky they are, and that they were short on offerings. And then we see Momo kind of getting sucked into the floor. It looks like, anyway. So chapter 37, like, this is the legend of the giant snake. Momo's confused. She's like, what the hell is this? And she figured that the situation is bad and that the floor's turned to sand, so she tries to get out, but then they bang her right back in. And they let her know that she's not crossing, that she's now offering, and that she'll get swallowed up by the quicksand. But then you have Okuran and JIJI coming to the clutch, pushing the family inside as well, making them offerings. And then they try to save Momo, but then everybody falls in. And then Momo looks up, sees that there's just one hole in the floor and that they can't get out really. Then we get this nice shot, and there's like tons of houses that goes way far deep. It's really cool shot, really well done, nicely drawn. You can actually, it's kind of like you're looking down, and you know, it has a lot of depth to it. We then see that JIJI's hanging on by what looks like a gutter or a beam, and then it breaks, but Momo tries to save him but misses the catch. And JIJI lands on something kind of squishy, which breaks his fall. Turns out to be the Alaskan bullworm, the Shukinoko monster, this sunflower worm, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that JIJI is just on his body, he's laying there. The Kido family is then doing a ritual dance for the Shukinoko monster, and they are saying how blessed they are by their by survival, and that the three, you know, JIJI, Okuran, and Momo are the offering. But Turbo Granny does bring out more facts and more lore. She said that's a Kagari Mongolian death worm. It's an earthworm cryptid. Momo then tries to talk to the old lady and let her know that this is just an earthworm, and then the family starts to get eaten. But then they all go inside the house so they can be safe and not get eaten as well. Chapter 38, Mongolian death worms are deadly. So then we get a shot, you know, you have Okuran, Momo, JIJI all in the same area, and then we see that Okuran broke a window and is trying to, well, yeah, he just broke a window. Yeah, very interesting, very random. And then you have the Mongolian death worm kind of tries to eat them through the, and that he figures out that the worm can tell where they are using sound, but it's not voices, it's the vibrations. But then we get a shot of Okuran with scissors, and he tries to kill himself, and he's just saying, "Let me die." And then we get a flashback through JIJI from when he saw two kids hanging themselves, and he tries to save them. And then you also have Momo grabbing a large shard of grass and tries to kill herself, but Turbo Granny was in the way and says, "Hey, you stabbed him." But then Turbo Granny tells JIJI to tie them up, and that we learn Turbo Granny says that it's the psychic waves coming from the Mongolian death worm, and it gets people in this house to kill themselves. So his parents did kill themselves, and it was because of the Mongolian death worm. And then we see that Momo is trying to kill herself again using her powers, but then JIJI takes the blows, getting a cut around his face, and then also a shard of glass going through his hand. And like I said, these panels look really good, and it looks really fucking bad as well. We then get a shot of the Mongolian death worm staring at JIJI, and then Momo holding a shard of glass up to her throat. And then JIJI goes and takes that hit as well with the shard of glass going through his elbow, and then he picks up Momo and Okuran and runs and tries to run way down. He ends up falling down the stairs, but then he's trying to stop Momo and Okuran from jumping off and killing themselves. And then we get this shot with the Mongolian death worm and these 4 shots of JIJI being hopeless. And then we get this shot of the spirit he has been seen. Chapter 39, The Evil Eye. Yes, this is the one spoiler nobody who's interested in Dandadan can get away. The Evil Eye. We are finally here. We have made it. JIJI sees the spirit and he says, "You." We then cut back to JIJI, Momo, and Okuran. They're getting into their senses, and then and then Turbo Granny lets them know not to look at that spirit's eyes, and that it's the evil eye, and its evil glaze makes people insane, and it drives them to suicide. And it's the same thing as the psychic waves coming from the Mongolian death worm, and their abilities are canceling each other out. So that's why Momo and Okuran are kind of back to normal. We then see the panel of fucking Okuran transforming, which I love when they slow it down and you get the transformation just starts to take over. But then you have the transformed Okuran attack the Mongolian deathworm, chopping its head clean off. But then we see that Mongolian deathworm throws it right back. Turbo Granny. So you have the evil eye curl all around JIJI, and is staring into his eyes, and you have Turbo Granny yelling out, "Don't look into the evil eyes." I'm gonna say it like that, evil eyes. We then get a nice cutscene of a kid who was held in captivity. Looked very malnourished watching the kids dance and have fun. And then the kid dances as well, and it looks like that's his only form of joy. And then we cut to where the volcano exploded. Everything is, on fire. And we see this kid's face just looks horrified, and turns out he is the sacrifice. And we know that just once that he wanted to play with the others, but used as a sacrifice. You have this very cool paneling, and then we cut back more into the kid, kind of in a more healthy body, but it's probably just a spirit, and he's into these people. He's in these random children's homes. And every time only the kid can see it, and they get very scared. But we later see that when this is the evil eye is around the kid, that the parents just end up killing themselves, and not the kid. The kid is just devastated. And then they use that kid for the sacrifice. We then have the evil eye try to frantically save the kid, but he's only a spirit and he can't help. And he blames the kiddo family and says that he'll kill them all. And then you get this really cool panel of the evil eye, and it's saying, "Look at me." Dandadan Chapter 40. Contract is the title. It's very good paneling. They won't get away with this. I'll kill them. Look over here. Look at me. We then get this panel of JIJI with his eyes are lighter in color. And then you have Turbo Granny says, "Snap out of it. There's no time to be messing around." Mama then tries to rip the evil eye from JIJI, but it won't let go. JIJI then tells Mama to stop, and that he's different, he's not a bad guy. And then you get this really cool shot of Okuren running from the Mongolian deathworm. So then you have JIJI run all the way down, headed towards a certain area that we don't know. And then JIJI said that he's going to let him out. We then also learned that the more you go down, the older model houses. So this has been going on for centuries, for years. But you then have JIJI reach this door that's X'd out, and JIJI opens it, breaks it open, and sees this skeleton hooked up to a pole. And then, Mama finally catches up, asks what the hell's wrong with JIJI, and that he keeps remembering what he saw with the evil eye, and that they locked him down there for so long, and that the evil eye's been protecting JIJI. JIJI says that the evil eye's just like them, and then Momo and Tugane trying to let him know that the evil eye is not like him at all. Then you get this great shot of the Mongolian deathworm. Looks like it's shocking, which paralyzes them, stops them from moving. But then you see this sticky substance as well that also comes from the Mongolian deathworm, which is very interesting. And then we see that Okuren is, he can't go full throttle anymore. He's done for a nice minute here. Then we get a shot of JIJI. He's drooling. His eyes are whited out. And at JIJI, we see that JIJI is in the spiritual plane with the kid, with Evil Eye. And then JIJI talks to Evil Eye. He said, "I'm sorry. I was so full of hate. I was afraid. I thought it was your fault. But you were here in so much pain. I want to play together. Okay, here we go. Let's all play together. What do you want to play, huh? We will play more than a lifetime's worth. I'll hang out with you as much as you like." And then we get this great paneling. Evil Eye said, "You said it." And we see that we get this great panel of JIJI. He's again taken over, and his eyes widening out. He's holding his head. So much intensity. Yeah, Turbo Granny saying that she warned him that you can't trust the Evil Eye. Momo and Turbo Granny then get shocked again. You have the Mongolian death worm setting his sights onto them as well. But you have Momo and JIJI that are stuck, and the Mongolian death worm are ready to eat them. As the Mongolian death worm goes to eat Momo, you have this great shot of JIJI punching down on the Mongolian death worm. And then he drives his leg back and kicks it. And then we get this great shot of his bottom half. It says, "At long last, it's mine, this body. And with it, I will kill all humans." And this is Evil Eye. What a great introduction to Evil Eye. The great paneling. This artist, man. I'm gonna go look at the name of the artist. Yukinobu Tatsu. Great paneling. Great paneling. Great storytelling. Great comedy. It's a bit weird. Listen to me. That shit's a bit fucking weird, but it's very well done. And I feel like people with a weird and sick obsession is like good at this shit, you know? But thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below any future manga you want me to see. I can start it, and I can try to do 2 times a week or just alternate in between, just so it's not straight Dandadan content. However, if you do want me to just read all of Dandadan and then we can move on from different manga, let me know. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Volume 6 is coming soon. If you look on my lives, I've already read up to Volume 7, I believe. Or I'm reading Volume 7 today, after this video goes up. So if you see me live, hey, tell me what's up. But thank you guys for watching. Peace.